All right, economics students, so we're back to production possibilities curves. We are going to do kind of a quick recap, kind of introduction to a couple of final concepts of the production possibilities curve. So you should know that this is what a production possibilities curve looks like. You should know that it shows the choices that an economy or a person has to make between two options. You should know that the reason why it looks the way that it looks is because we have to give up a certain amount in order to gain more of a different good. That there's an opportunity cost associated with everything. And so hopefully you can see that this model represents what we face in the real world. It's not just a graph, but it represents decisions that people have to make. And as you gain more of one thing, you have to give up more of another thing. That's exactly what a production possibilities curve shows. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to take a second. You can pause and graph it yourself. That's what I would like you to do. The best way to get this stuff is just to practice it yourself, is to not just have me do it, but you pause it, actually practice it, and then check and see if you got it right or wrong. So I've graphed the production possibilities curve. You can see it right here. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to put 3 points, point A, point B, and point C. Point A for a point that is a maximum, utilizing all of the resources it has to its maximum capability. Where would a point like that go? I want you to put a point that's not possible. It's just not possible to be at that point with the current amount of land, labor, capital, resources that this economy has. And then I want you to pick a point that's not, it's possible, but it's not a maximum. Okay, so that third one's C. All right. So where would a point be where they could produce that? It's just not using all of the resources that it has. So pause the video. I'll stop for just a little bit and try to find where you would put points. And there's many correct answers, but where would you put points A, B, and C? Okay. Hopefully you paused the video and tried it, and I will go through and explain each one of them. So the maximum, which we've shown, is anywhere on this line. So I will put things in a different color here, but the maximum could be at this point up here. What that point is just using all of the resources to produce good Y. The maximum could be using all of your resources to produce good X. The maximum could be right here, making some combination of those goods. It could be here, and 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 it could be here. Hopefully you get that this line right here, and I'll draw it in red now. This line, that is what is possible. That's the line that is the maximum that's possible with the current amount of land, labor, and capital that we have. Good? All right, so I'm going to just pick a point. It could be anywhere along there, but I'm going to call that point A. So that is point A. That's correct. Anywhere along the line, we got it right. For B, what's a point that's not possible? All right. Well, it's easy to say, okay, if this is a maximum, if I just choose one good, well, I would know I can't maintain that amount of goods and just start making more of the other good, because every person I have in this economy is producing good Y. So how am I going to get any of good X unless I give up some of good Y? So any point that's outside of the line, it could be up here, could be over here, could be down here. Any point B out there, it's not possible, right? So if you think about it, when we were talking about Fortnite and sleeping, it would be like saying I'm going to play video games for 12 hours and I'm going to sleep for 15 hours within a 24-hour period. Like that, you can't do that. There's not more than 24 hours in the day. Well, there's not more people, resources, machines in an economy than there is. So you can't build more stuff than what you're capable of building. So this is beyond maximum. And then therefore, here, point C or point C or point C or point C, I have these possibilities along A, but I'm not using it, right? So if you think about it hours in a day, it'd be like if I only slept for 5 hours and I only played video games for 2 hours, I'd only be using 7 hours within a 24-hour day. So I'm not using all of the hours to do those two things. So point C, anywhere inside this graphic, is not using all of the resources that I have to produce the two goods that I could possibly be making. All right? A's on the line, B's outside, C's inside. Okay. Then the last thing that we're going to do with production possibilities is just add a little bit more. So I'm going to erase some of this just to get rid of some of the mess of stuff. All right. All right. Now let me give you just one last scenario. I'm going to put B back on here over here. I'm going to give you one last scenario, right? So what would happen if we gained more people? What would happen if we gained more capital? And what would happen if what would happen if we gained more land? So we said we have a finite amount of land, labor, and capital. What if that amount expanded? What if we had more people? We just gained more people in a certain year. What would happen to what would be maximum? What would happen to point A? What would happen to that line? And hopefully you can see that that line is going to change if we got more people or capital or land. What would be possible would change. So A represents, or the line represents what's possible. So let's say we got more machinery, better technology, more people. This whole line is going to move outward like that, which means we could produce more of everything. So we get more land, labor, and capital. We could hit point B. If we were to grow over time, this line, and it's getting messy now, could keep moving outward. It could also go in the opposite direction. Let's say our population's on the decline, we don't have good technology, resources are low. That could move this whole line inward, right? So this is a shrinking economy, right? It's getting smaller and smaller. What's the difference between that blue line and point C? Point C is we still have those resources available, we're just not using them. The blue line is those resources have went away, and what's possible has changed. Right? So I'm going to illustrate this just in one last way, and I am an amazing artist, so you will be wowed by this example. This is going to be like a Nalgene bottle of water, something like that, right? So this bottle of water, or this bottle, let's say, this bottle, well, let's start over there. All right. This bottle, got ahead of myself. This bottle only can hold, let's call it 32 ounces, right? That's the max. So in our production possibilities, it would be like the curve right there, right? So 32 ounces, that's the max, right? So I can fill it all the way up, and I would be like at point A. Right? And let's say I have options between different stuff to fill it up with, right? So I can fill it up with some sort of something that's red, and I can fill it with something that's green, and I can fill it all the way up to the top, right? So I've picked kind of a combination. Let's say I want more green in there. What happens, right? If I want to put more green in there, what happens? I got to get rid of some of the red, right? I get rid of some of the red, and then I can add more green. Right? I got to give up some red in order to add more green. And I'm stuck at that maximum of 32. Right? So that would be like moving from point A to point B over here. Right? If I'm at point A, this combination of red and green, and I want more green, I got to give up some red. So I gain more green, I give up some red. Right? Or I could say, you know what, I don't want any red, I want all green. Right? So I got to get rid of all of this red, and now I have all green. Right? And that would be like over here at C. I gave up all of this other one to maximize right there. Now, could I decide, you know what, I'm not going to fill it all the way full. I don't want it all the way full. I don't need it all the way full. I'm going to only fill it about 3/4 of the way full. Right. Does it change what's maximum? Does it change the size of the bottle? No, it doesn't. So that would be at like point D right here. This line out here is still exactly the same. The size of the bottle, what's possible, the maximum is still 32 ounces. The maximum is still right there, but I'm at a point inside of that line. I didn't fill it all the way full, right? Can I fill it up to 64 ounces? No, I can't fill it up to 64 ounces. That would be like point E over here. That's not possible. It's not possible for me to put 64 ounces of stuff in here. It would overflow. It's just not possible. There's not enough room to get 64 ounces into that bottle, right? So how would it look like to get 64 ounces, right? In other words, what would it look like to get to point E out here? Well, it would have to grow. The economy would have to grow. We need more land, labor, and capital. In other words, this bottle would have to get bigger, right? You have to somehow extend the bottle in order to make it fit 64 ounces, right? So hopefully that bottle kind of illustration helps you remember what a production possibilities curve is showing, the difference between the line moving, right, it growing or shrinking, and then the difference between filling it all the way full or filling it halfway full. What happens if you want to put more of one, substance or color inside the bottle versus a different one, right? You got to take out some of one to put more in of another. And so hopefully that kind of makes it clear what a production possibilities curve is showing.